Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got a lot to bring updates today. So the first news today is coming from Russia, where we've got news that Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, is currently holding talks with the North Korean foreign minister, Cho Sun-hu. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see they're both foreign ministers of both North Korea and Russia hold talks. So the big statements coming from the North Korean foreign minister is that North Korea will continue to improve its readiness for nuclear retaliation strike. The situation on the Korean Peninsula is very dangerous and an unstable state due to the US and its allies' actions, and North Korea is confident in Russia's victory in the conflict in Ukraine and will always stand next to its Russian comrades. So this was stated by the North Korean foreign minister to the Russian foreign minister. So very interesting statement, and I'll keep you updated if there's any more statements regarding that. We've also got news that the Serbian president Vučić called Russian President Vladimir Putin and raised the issue of a ceasefire in Ukraine, but Putin refused to discuss it, and he stated that all of the objectives of the special military operations will be met, according to the Serbian president. So Vladimir Putin and President Vučić had a call, and Putin apparently refused a peace deal, so a ceasefire. So interesting news. Let's go to the Russian space launch today. So Russia has launched a military satellite today. So if you can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see the Soyuz launch in this exact space launch here. So in Russia, so not in the Kazakhstan place. So today, the Russian Federation launched the satellite that has now been successfully launched into space. So the satellite was successful, everything was successful, and the Soyuz rocket delivered the military satellite. So interesting news. We've also gotten some imageries coming from Moscow, that's protective nets for protection against debris at the Moscow refinery is happening. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can actually see Russia is now building nets around oil refineries, it seems, and a storage of fuel, so drones can no longer strike it. So very interesting news, and Russia will probably be building lots throughout Russia, so nets, protective nets. We've also got news that the Russian army recruits an average of 25 to 30,000 new recruits every month. So this is reported by the New York Times. So I'll keep you updated on that. Now let's go to Ukraine. We've got evidence of North Korean army presence in Russia, apparently. So if we can see here in bottom left corner, we can actually hear and see a Russian soldier reviewing North Korean army rations. So canned stew. So if you can see here in bottom left corner, we can see North Korean rations. That's the Russian soldiers are apparently reviewing and testing. So it actually looks very appetizing, apparently. So interesting news. And now let's head to some political news coming from Ukraine. That's the British Finance Minister Rachel announced that the UK government will allocate £3 billion, so that's about 3.9 billion US dollars annually, to support Ukraine for, I quote, for as long as it takes. So interesting news. So the British Finance Minister will allocate £3 billion to Ukraine. So this is in military support, so Ukraine can spend it on the military. We've also got news that the US has released the comprehensive list of weapons and equipment in its new $425 million US package. So the US has just gave Ukraine a $425 million US aid package. So within this aid package is ammunition for the NASAMS and the HIMARS systems, Stinger missiles, counter UAS equipment and ammunition, air-to-ground ammunition, 155 and 105 millimeter artillery shells, tow missiles, and javelins, so and anti-tank weapons, small arms and ammunition, medical equipment, and some spare parts and support equipment and others. So interesting news. We've also got news that President Zelensky of Ukraine announced during his interview with South Korean TV channel KBS that Ukraine will soon formally request military aid from South Korea. So the requests will include air defense systems, artillery, and other weapons and essentials for defense. So Zelensky is about to announce to South Korea, will formally request military aid to South Korea due to North Korean allegedly presence in Russia. So interesting news. And now let's go to Poland, where we've got videos of NATO instructors training Ukrainian tank crews in Poland to operate the German Leopard 2A4 tanks. So we've got a video that was published by NATO of NATO instructors training Ukrainian tank crews in Poland to operate the German Leopard 2A4 tanks. We've also got news that Zelensky has criticized Poland for its reluctance to transfer the promised MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine, despite prior agreements. So on October the 29th, Polish President stated that Warsaw would not be able to transfer the MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine, as agreed upon in July, without receiving guarantees for protection of Polish airspace for NATO, and Poland stated that it needs these MiG-29s. So, without the guarantees of NATO, Poland will not be giving MiG-29s to Ukraine, but promised MiG-29s. We've also got news that Poland has started to begin building fortifications on its border with Russia under the Eastern Shield Initiative, confirmed by Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk. So this joint effort with the Baltic partners include fortified barriers, forward bases, and logistic hubs along the border with Russia and Belarus, stretching 700 kilometers in total. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the first trenches and the first fortifications that are building on the Polish and Russian border. And now let's head to Belarus, where the news coming from Alexander Lukashenko. So Alexander Lukashenko in Minsk is holding the International Conference on Eurasian Security in Minsk. So the National Conference of Eurasian Security in Minsk has started, and within this conference, Alexander Lukashenko touched a little bit upon Ukraine, and he stated that Ukraine is not going to win on the battleground, and the Ukrainians themselves know that. The president of Belarus stated. He also said that total militarization of the planet is the worst thing that could happen right now. We've also got news that some foreign ministers and some representatives of countries also attended the International Conference of Eurasian Security in Minsk, including the Hungarian foreign minister. So the Hungarian foreign minister stated that we Hungarians will protect every inch of our sovereignty. The Hungarian foreign minister stated in the International Conference of Eurasian Conference. And we got news that the Serbian Deputy Prime Minister also attended the Minsk conference, and he stated that the collective West does not respect our values. And he stated that we strongly believe in God, in sovereign nations, in the natural family, and he also said that Western attempts to isolate Russia and spread fear about China are stupid. So that was stated by Serbian Deputy Prime Minister. Now let's head to Slovakia, where we got news that Slovakia becomes the largest buyer of Russian goods in the EU. So Slovakia has just hit a record, becoming the main buyer of Russian goods in the European Union in August. Sputnik calculated based on the Eurostat's data that the EU country increased its purchase of products from Russia by 2.1 times to 320 million euros at the end of the summer. Second place is actually Italy. So second place in purchasing Russian goods is taken by Italy, and the third is Hungary. So the top three is rounded out by Hungary with 300 million euros, and obviously Slovakia is first. So Slovakia has just hit the record of becoming the main buyer of Russian goods. And now let's head to Germany, where we've got news that Germany is now closing all Iranian consulates on its territory, the DPA agency reports. So Germany will now be closing all Iranian consulates on the territory of Germany. So very big news. We've also gotten some news coming from France that the French authorities have intercepted a Colombian narco submarine carrying over 5 tons of cocaine valued at $16.5 billion. So this is probably one of the biggest seizures of illegal drugs. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see this Colombian submarine that was seized by French authorities, and they found 5 tons of cocaine heading, it seems, to the mainland of France. So big news. We've also gotten some news coming from Serbia of some tragic events. So if you can see here in your bottom left, actually I probably can't show you any of this footage, but a Serbian station roof collapsed, claiming 14 lives, more than 30 injured, President Alexander Vucic stated. So a concrete roof collapsed at the Novi Sad railway station in Serbia. Among the dead was a 6-year-old child. So this concrete, it seems that one of these concrete roofs actually collapsed, and it actually landed on a lot of people, claiming the lives of 14 people and a 6-year-old child. So people have gathered in the aftermath to mourn the dead and pray for those in hospital. So very sad news come from Serbia. A rooftop on a railway station collapsed, and it has killed more than 14 people. So very sad news. Now let's go to Athens, where we've got news that Greek firefighters stormed government building, protesting for permanent jobs after brutal wildfire season. So the firefighters of Greece are currently very unhappy and now are storming government buildings to protest for permanent jobs after brutal wildfire season. We've also got news coming from Turkey. So we've got news that the Prime Minister of Iraq has met the Turkish President Erdogan. So we've got news that the Iraqi Prime Minister arrived in Istanbul on an official visit to meet the Turkish President. So the latest developments in the region were discussed in this meeting between the Iraqi Prime Minister and the President of Turkey. In particular, the growing threat to peace and stability due to the ongoing war in Gaza and Lebanon. The country's leaders called on Arab and Islamic countries and the international organizations to support efforts to achieve a ceasefire. So in addition, bilateral relations and ways to implement the agreements signed at high-level meetings in various fields were discussed. So interesting news, the Iraqi Prime Minister met with the President of Turkey and talked a lot about the Middle East. And now let's head to the country of Georgia, where we've got news that the recent parliamentary elections in Georgia were marked by unprecedented foreign interference, according to the Prime Minister of Georgia. So the Prime Minister of Georgia stated that foreign money is being used in Georgia for political purposes. The election witnessed unprecedented interference coming from the outside, including interference funded by foreign money. So this was stated by the Prime Minister of Georgia. So he's stating that a lot of foreign interference was happening in Georgia's elections. The Prime Minister of Georgia stated. We've also got news coming from Israel that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, stated that Israel's main goal is to prevent the emergence of nuclear weapons in Iran. So Benjamin Netanyahu stated that Israel has more freedom of action in Iran today than ever before. He said that we can reach any point in Iran if necessary, said the Israeli Prime Minister. So Israel's main goal is to prevent nuclear weapons in Iran. Now we've got some news coming from Mali and Burkina Faso. So Mali and Burkina Faso have outlawed homosexual law, so prohibiting any forms or support or practice or activities related to homosexuality, with severe penalties imposed on offenders. So the two countries have taken up action to outlaw homosexuality. Now let's head to Tajikistan. Tajikistan bans Counter-Strike and GTA. So the Ministry of Culture of Tajikistan has just banned the games of GTA and Counter-Strike due to the violence, murder, and robbery. So this is according to the Ministry of Culture of Tajikistan. So Tajikistan bans two games, Counter-Strike and GTA. Now let's head to the Chinese-Indian border. So the Chinese People's Liberation Army and the Indian Army soldiers pose on the Chinese-Indian border after the withdrawal of troops from the disputed areas. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can actually see Indian and Chinese soldiers actually meet at the Indian-Chinese border, and we can see they actually give them each other presents, which is very interesting. So the relations on the Indian and Chinese border it seems that it's never been higher. So interesting news. And we've also gotten some more news that for the first time, the Chinese People Liberation Army Navy has conducted its first ever dual carrier formation exercise in the South China Sea, featuring both the Liaoning and the Shandong aircraft carriers. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the first time China has ever used dual aircraft carriers in military exercises. So very big news. We've also got news coming from some tragic events coming from Bangladesh. That a Bangladeshi Air Force, a Yak 130, spun out of control and crashed. So the Bangladesh Air Force has lost a Yak 130 due to failure, and it seems that it actually went out of control and crashed. So it's actually unknown of the current status of the pilot, but the jet it seems to be completely destroyed. And now let's head to North Korea. So if we remember on the last episode, we talked about how North Korea launched an ICBM into the Sea of Japan, or the East Sea. So the North Korean government has just released the photos of the launch of the new type of ICBM, the Hwasong-Pol 19. So the launched missile flew for 5,156 seconds. Its flight range was about 1,000 kilometers, and its maximum altitude was 7,687.5 kilometers. The missile hit the designated target waters in the open sea of the Korean East Sea. So, very interesting news. So we can see the footage here. We can see the Korean missile make its way up to space, it seems, where it hit the East Sea, or the Sea of Japan. Now let's head to Argentina. We've got news that the US state debt has approved a 941 million sale of F-16 equipment to Argentina. So the US State Department has just approved the potential sale of F-16 fighter jet equipment and support to Argentina for an estimate of $941 million, the Pentagon said on Wednesday. So the principal contractors for the sale would be Lockheed Martin, the Pentagon said in a statement. So a huge F-16 fighter deal has been signed with Argentina, estimating a worth of $941 million, dollars. Now let's head to Bolivia, where news that the former Bolivian president Evo Morales, I think that's how you pronounce his name, has declared a hunger strike and called on the government to engage in dialogue to resolve the country's economic issues. So the former president is now on a hunger strike and now is demanding the country's economic issues to improve. And the last news today is coming from the US, where we got news that Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump have done an interview with each other, and it's actually on YouTube if you want to watch it. So Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson have done an interview with each other, and you can watch it right now if you want to. But that's all the news I actually have for you today. I am Non-C News. I'll try to provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.